silent. I'm leaving.
What's wrong with him? Damn. I've never seen this. Wow.
Yeah, that's... Or maybe it's
Wow.
highlighting what Paris should look like at night.
Paris? All this time, I've been underneath Paris?
Damn.
It's beautiful.
Look at that.
The most beautiful.
Cousteau's? Your restaurant? You've led me to your restaurant.
It seems as though I have. Yes, there it is. I have led you to it.
I gotta see this.
Oh my god. Wait, comments are turned off. I wonder why. I wonder why the comments are turned off.
That's not Paris today. Old Cologne.
Oh my god. You should watch it. Yeah. The MC is a rat. Oh wow. So I get a representation. That's nice.
If you haven't seen it as of gold, you should watch that movie. It's a good one. It's one of the top animated movies ever made. It's one of Pixar's best.
So, yeah, I was about to ask why. I guess that's for YouTube Kids. Oh, it is? Oh, it's a YouTube Kids video. Oh, okay. Oh, choices for families. Never mind.
Yes. I was thinking that... Yeah, that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. There's no ulterior motive. What is this? After the new Blitzkrieg?
Yes. Don't you want to live in beautiful Paris?
Holy shit.
Oh, that was your car? Well, the repairs might cost a pretty penny.
They got firebombed. It's Raccoon City from fucking Resident Evil 9. This is how Polish fans celebrate their club's victory.
That is what when France won the World Cup, that's what it looked like. The times I was there. I don't know if I'd feel safe going out celebrating the World Cup anymore in France.
Wait, so you're telling me you don't have to burn down the city?
Yep.
Damn. That's crazy. Guess what laws Poland has for riots? I don't know, laws that I'd agree with?
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't burn down their own city, but people burning down Paris, it's not their city.
Laws that I'd think up?
And honestly, I got emails from people about it. The high-end neighborhoods are being burned down. The people doing the burning did not live in those neighborhoods. They probably did not even live in Paris.
That's insane. Yeah.
Why would they give a shit about burning down the city?
Oh my god. And they actually care about their city, aren't just a bunch of immigrants? Yeah, I guess so. The worst thing these guys do in littering, and that's about it? Yeah, sure. And where are the Polish fires?
I'm sure there's some people up on statues in Poland during this.
I have no idea. Why would you destroy your own country? I mean, I don't know why they did this either. I think that the reason why is that this is the problem, is that this is going to be maybe a conspiracy theory. But I'm going to just be brutally honest, and I'm going to speak in plain.
He's getting nearer to the conspiracy rabbit hole. He's taking tiny steps down it.
English. I think that Hitler mind-fucked and...
Oh, no, it's this nonsense. We already heard. Hitler mind-fucked Europe. No, he's going... This is how far Asmongold is mind-fucking himself to avoid actually thinking there's an actual conspiracy out there.
The Nazis mind-fucked all of Western civilization into thinking any degree of cultural preservation.
You think that this has to do with what Hitler did all those years ago? Under Charles de Gaulle, France was very patriotic and there was none of this self-hatred. So why was this like the 30-year period after World War II where France didn't hate themselves? And also, why should France hate themselves because of what Germany did? Explain that to me. Why should the UK hate themselves because of what Germany did? That makes no bloody sense. Today's ideology that because the United States did slavery and Germany did the Holocaust, all white people should hate themselves is basically makes no bloody sense and is just evil.
Is inherently evil. And I think that's probably been like one of the worst negative effects of it, beyond obviously the bad stuff that he did, right? It's like one of the really bad.
I mean, he has no business talking about Europe mind-fucking themselves when United States just does the exact same thing, you're just using slavery, something that happened so long ago there's no one alive anymore that even remembers how it was back then.
Negative consequences is that any preservation of Western society or Christian society or an ethnicity, like, a white culture or something like that, this is automatically seen as being bad because of Hitler. And I think the reason why Poland hasn't had that happen is because what started World War II? Poland was the main people, they were the main victims of Hitler. So I don't.
France was victims of Hitler. Norway, no, everyone that wasn't Germany was victim of Germany in some way.
Think that they share that same type of.
No, rather it's the Western influence, U.S. influence. U.S. has a lot less influence through NATO over Poland than it does the France, Germany, and UK. Like CIA's propaganda networks that set up, what's it called? Forget their names, but they've been propagandizing Western Europe far, far longer than Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe was part of the Soviet Union, and so countries that are here haven't been subjected to the same level of propaganda, of self-hating propaganda, and so they are less self-hating. They haven't accepted the nonsense of white privilege, etc. Whereas, yeah, and that's the main reason. It's not like they were less victimized by Germany. It's both Poland and France were invaded. No, what's different between two is Poland was part of Soviet Union. They were, at least during that time, protected against Western propaganda.
Of cultural guilt in the way that Germany, France, and England even do.
Why would England and France feel guilt for what Germany did?
And I think that's the
your argument here is just retarded. You could make it maybe for Germany, but no. Why would France hate themselves for what Germany did?
Reason why Poland doesn't have the same cultural expectations that the other countries do.
Am I going crazy? Asmongold just going completely off the rail here. This is how far he wants to go to avoid thinking there might be a big conspiracy, actual, evil conspiracy. He thinks that Poland and France have somehow different experience during World War II. No, both were conquered by Germany. Poland was liberated by Soviet Union, whereas France was liberated by the United States. This is U.S. influence is the key factor in this self-hatred. This white self-hatred originates in the United States.
Is that they don't have to overcome the perceived guilt they were. And by the way, I'm not Polish. I've never been to Poland. I can't speak their language. So I'm literally like, it's like there's a 100-point piece puzzle. I have 20 pieces, and I'm trying to say what the whole picture is.
Yes, but some of your pieces aren't turned up the right way, Asmongold. And so I can see it being very hard for you.
I want you to understand that I don't know what the whole picture is. I'm just speaking.
No, Russia had its own propaganda networks, and for the most part, the majority of its population wasn't exposed to Western media. It wasn't exposed to Western propaganda. And the propaganda networks, like infiltration by CIA agents into the media in UK, West Germany, France, it was on a different level than it was in the Soviet states. So that's the main reason. There's big divide. And also, because of Soviet propaganda, the people of Russia and Poland are a lot more distrusted in media to begin with. And that is like an inoculation to the self-hatred nonsense if you don't trust media to begin with.
From what it seems like to me, from the information that I have as an outsider. So like if you're Polish and you're thinking like, it's not really it, it's actually more this other thing, then you're probably right. You know, and I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. But like from an outsider's perspective, I've seen that a lot of the European countries that were negatively, basically every European country, whether it's Spain, Portugal, England, Scotland.
The length of time of a country in NATO is directly correlated to how much of a problem they have with this self-hatred that there is in France, UK, and Germany. That's the determining factor, not who was invaded by Germany during World War II, as we go. If you want, they want to mention a factor that has direct correlation to that. That's the biggest one. Anyway, I think I'm going to stop here because otherwise I think I'm just going to get annoyed if he continues speaking. And this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Now, I have the last video I want to react to, and this one's going to be a good one. Something satisfying. This is something that I've known for over a decade. And it's satisfying having other people find out. I'm going to react to Nuck's reaction to it rather than video itself.
A whole lot of Hollywood movies were just exposed as CIA propaganda. The truth of the matter is this is the least surprising thing in the universe. It's something I've been saying for a really long time. I do believe that one of the major purposes of new media is essentially just to psyop you into believing in a world.
New media. You're saying new media. But what Nux Taco is going to learn in this, that this goes back a lot longer than new media. Let's see if I can move myself. Yeah. Let's move myself over and make this bigger.
World that isn't real. You know, a world of infinite genders and a world of the girl boss, where actually being super happy is when a woman unlocks her true power and sprays period blood on her opponent or something to destroy him. Something like that, or whatever Hollywood's telling you these days. You know, manufacturing infinite wars. Stuff like that. So I'm excited.
Yeah, the Nextaku, he's thinking of propaganda in terms of modern movies. But what he doesn't understand is the CIA influence in Hollywood goes back to the very beginning and is deep. It's into the core. He's going to learn that.
To see the actual info this time. Moon made a video on it.
There's a version of your favorite films and TV shows that you weren't allowed to see. Scripts were rewritten, scenes were cut, endings were changed, and characters were altered.
They'd stamp top secret on the top and the bottom and the sides in the margins of every single page. And I said, guys, this is not top secret. This is a Hollywood movie. It's already on video. It's done.
I'm talking children's animations with rewritten endings, comedy films you've never heard of with deleted scenes, superhero franchises built in secretive contracts, and a screenwriter who tried to tell
Look, dude, I'm just gonna say it. There's way too many gay things going on. It's every...
Yes, he's a conspiracy on that. And he probably clicked on video thinking this would have to do with that. Instead, he's going to have a dose of truth in a way about the movies that he thought were based, that his childhood were actually CIA propaganda. It's awesome.
Everywhere. I'm telling you, bro.
This is Nux red pilling himself. I love it.
Gay people would watch the same movies if they were straight guys. Right? We do not need to pander that hard to make them happy, unless it's a worldview that they're trying to push on you.
the wrong story and was found dead with both hands missing.
Wait, what?
It's not an accident.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's going to learn new stuff in this video.
Every Hollywood movie about the CIA is pro-CIA.
Yeah,
This has been running since the 1940s.
I didn't even think of that.
I noticed that.
Yeah, true. That's pretty funny, isn't it?
What started with Walt Disney producing propaganda shorts for the military has now evolved into a formal permanent operation, one that now reaches into the biggest franchises on the planet, and it hasn't stopped expanding from there. When John
What I really need is to have this materials that I covered in my videos redone in this type of format, this type of easily consumable format, explaining things with nice graphics. That's what could actually really spread awareness.
Kiriakou, a CEI whistleblower who went to prison for
Yeah, but he's kind of retarded. Like, I've seen some clips of him saying some pretty weird shit.
exposing the torture program was asked on the Diary of a CIA.
Like, he's currently under the payroll from the official Russian state. Like, he is getting Russian funding for his podcast. This is confirmed. This isn't like a conspiracy. That's actually true.
How the agency would hypothetically design an influence campaign. This
That doesn't mean the things that he says are wrong, necessarily. I'm just saying.
was his answer.
You would have to have a goal
that would be specific enough that you could actually track the progress to it. It has to be a message. You've got to be able to get a specific, well-honed message out there. And the message can be anything. It could be, you know, love the CIA, we're the good guys. It could be support the overthrow of the Iranian government. It could be, you know...
I mean, the Iranian government are doing better
No, Nuxtaku. That's completely wrong. The fact that you hate Iran means that the CIA has been doing really good propaganda, because most of the reasons you hate Iran for are bullshit. Like, Iran had nothing to do with October 7th. Just saying. Hamas was funded by Qatar and Israel, $1.3 billion between 2012 and 2022. That's where the money came from. That's who supported Hamas.
propaganda than any movie that ever came out of Hollywood. And then the Iranian government decided to kill 40,000 of their own people and shut off the internet so we couldn't hear them scream. No, they did a much better job at propaganda than, you know, with the Death to America shit than Hollywood ever could.
Any criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu is anti-Semitism. It could be anything you want it to be.
True,
You just have to make sure that it's repeated enough.
He mentions a couple of things.
Repeated enough. That's key. Repetition is truth. That is something I was saying in my blog all those years ago. It's insane. You have something that's absolute, complete nonsense. No facts whatsoever supporting it. But you just repeat it in New York Times, Washington Post, on evening news. Just repeat it enough time and people accept it as fact. Even if there's nothing behind it. No, not completely made up. Like Wall Street greed caused the 2008 financial crisis. How often was that repeated? Complete nonsense.
There that are highly relevant right now.
Yeah?
Take Argo, an Oscar-winning film that almost everyone has heard of. The plot follows a CIA officer who poses as a Hollywood producer to smuggle 6 American diplomats out of Iran, all during the 1979 hostage crisis. As you can
Which is a real thing that happened.
imagine, the CIA is unambiguously the hero. There's barely a single
Yeah, but it doesn't mention, well...
mention of the CIA's overthrow of Iran's democratically
Yes, that is also part of history.
elected government.
It isn't in Western media that much.
Or the installing of a dictator who ruled with a secret police force trained by the CIA. And given the
And that training, you know where it took place, a lot of it? CIA, the embassy in Tehran. It was the CIA headquarters. Torture happened at the CIA, at the U.S. embassy in Tehran. It was a den of espionage. After Iran went in and seized the embassy, they pieced together all the papers they found in there that were shredded. And they published it. You can find it online. Documents from a den of espionage.
the current conflict in Iran, you could reasonably argue that the public's understanding of who Iran is and how he got there was influenced in part by films exactly like this. During filming, Affleck visited CIA headquarters multiple times, sat in round tables in the director's conference room, and even emailed the agency promising to do the agency proud. The CIA had actually been promoting the Argo operation.
This is Nux red pilling himself. Wonderful. And yeah, this is just one movie that painting Iran in a bad light, CIA in a good light. All of the reason Americans hate Iran is decades of CIA working with every movie, every director to ensure that Iran is the bad guy.
We got an email of the guy in Hollywood being like, "Oh, we're gonna make you guys look sick." Bro.
As a suggested movie plot on their own website years before the film was made, and even thanked Affleck publicly on Twitter for the film. Affleck said this when interviewed as part of the press tour.
Are there many actors in Hollywood who also moonlight as agents, do you think?
I think there are probably quite a few, yes. I think probably Hollywood is full of CIA agents, and we just don't know it.
But Argo's only the start.
The links between Hollywood and CIA are deep. They go back decades. I mean, CIA's goal is to control the narrative. And to do that, you control the entertainment.
And you'll be shocked about where exactly the strategy operates in Hollywood. The films it touches.
Oh yeah, all communism is good. All communism is great. It's never the fault of the minority that committed the crime, God forbid.
And how smart it truly is. Take the original script for the Hulk. The canon storyline, as per the comic, involved Bruce Banner being transformed after a US military program gone wrong. It also included dialogue referencing Operation Ranch Hand, a real program that sprayed roughly 20 million gallons of chemical herbicides, including Agent Orange over Southeast Asia, poisoning a possible 4 million people. Both details were removed purposefully by CIA advisors. This is according to leaked files.
That's fucking weird.
That's not. He says it's weird, but they do. You have no idea how much nasty shit the CIA does, and all of it is edited out.
Change the source material to make The CIA looked better. Oh boy.
By the conversation. They then changed the origin story to a lab experiment gone wrong instead because they couldn't risk anti-government sentiment in a franchise of this size. In the Transformers films, a Pentagon liaison inserted specific dialogue instead of removing it.
Halfgun. Nice to have you here. It was interesting to see what Iran looked like in the 1970s. It was quite a surprise to me. Yep, it's... let me go back a little bit. Yeah, it was very different. If you believe the Hollywood version of events, they rewrite history. It's completely rewritten in a lot of cases. Anything regarding to Iran, yeah. No mention of us helping Saddam Hussein gas hundreds of thousands of Iranians, for example, in any Hollywood movie.
In the Transformers films, a Pentagon liaison inserted specific dialogue instead of removing it. In one scene just after American troops had been attacked by a Deception robot, he added the line "bring him
a Decepticon." Oh my god.
Home to reinforce US military values. Numerous superhero films, including practically
but that's a real thing. Like, we do have... Look, man, I'm going to say...
If you believe it's a real thing, then Hollywood has really worked. Huh? I can... At least one example that one of the commentators bring up that it's not always true. It is... There is that mantra, but it's not always enforced. Reality is harsh.
Unapologetically, I love our military, and I think our soldiers are fucking heroes. All right, I'm going to say that unapologetically. However, I do think that our intelligence agencies...
they may be heroes, but they're asked to do things like guard poppy fields in Afghanistan, or work with ISIS as they're genociding Christians in Syria. Yeah, the U.S. has put its soldiers into the position of being on the bad side of history many times.
They try to fight for the greater good, but or at least they claim they do. But I think that they do some horrible, evil shit. I'm going to be upfront with my opinions here.
Entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Look, we saw what happened with the pilot that was downed in Iran, where we literally went on...
But that's more Trump not wanting the bad optics of a captured pilot was a real driver behind that operation, rather than the military. The military doctrine too, yes, sure, but Trump was a big reason that happened.
Complete radio silence for 2 days to rescue him, and thank God we did. Like, we really... Look, we live in a...
Trump isn't the military.
...country that, thank God, is awesome. The greatest civilization ever known.
And now I'm just thinking back to the testimony of, I saw in one of my videos I watched, of a guy that was struck on the first day of the war. They were casualties. Some of the people in the room, they were U.S. soldiers put someplace with no air protection and just got hammered by an Iranian drone. And they lost like 5 people, whole room got bad injuries. And that's a clear example of U.S. not protecting their soldiers. That happens too.
And yes, we lost a couple $1 million of equipment by rescuing that man. A new helicopter that we lost could be replaced in a year. But you know what can't be built in a year? The values of no one gets left behind. That is a value system that took 250 years to build. Thank God.
Which is the single biggest
He's watched way too many Hollywood movies.
Franchise and history were all built on this from the ground up. Captain Marvel was granted full Air Force support. The Air Force was advertising the film on social media before Marvel had even started.
And the fact that he says that makes me even more convinced that he doesn't know that Hamas was funded by Qatar and Netanyahu. And when we wake up to that, you still need to red pill yourselves on a lot of things, Nuxtaku.
Started marketing it. Captain Marvel and Black Panther were both used directly in recruitment campaigns.
Yeah, but those were... yeah, because they were targeting women and black people, not white guys. Right? Very obviously.
The result was a documented spike in female applicants to the Air Force.
Right. Let's be real here. Is that good?
The reason Iran has suffered is because of sanctions, decades of sanctions from the United States. And you think about U.S. sanctions. They'll go after companies in, Saudi Arabia. You dare to do business with Iran? Well, you have some dollars in the United States because you're an international company. Well, we'll take those dollars unless you stop doing business with Iran. So any company that does any type of international relations has dollars, they can't work with Iran because of that. That's what makes it so crushing about U.S. sanctions. And but China and Russia are setting up an alternative system that is bringing that to an end. And the days of U.S. sanctions dominating the world are coming to a close, so that's good. But that's the reason why Iran has suffered, is the sanctions.
Good? No. No, it's not. All right, listen, I'm just being real here. I don't think we want to use government propaganda to propagandize women specifically into thinking that they can be the girl boss, that militarily is superior and can save.
Yes, it'd be much better if our soldiers were men. It's men, if they stay at home, they can't have the babies. No, they can't do that. So you put the women on front lines, men stay at home, population just shrinks and your country dies. So you lose
the country, because it's anti-reality, and that's what I think that Hollywood does mostly. It pushes narratives that aren't real life to psyop people into believing that this is real when it's not.
Force Academy. They literally called it the Captain Marvel effect on Iron Man, which was massively.
By the way, I have actually no problem with women wanting to be Air Force pilots. What I have, if that's what they really want, my problem is the pushing of. Is guiding people into it so that you have a disproportional number and it fucks up society. It's, I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just like I have no problem with LGBT people, except when you start having 30% of your class, classes in Canada declaring themselves LGBT, I think something was wrong. You have people that were guided into something that maybe does not suit them.
Supported by the Pentagon with $1 billion worth of equipment, there were literally fights on set between the directors and the agency. Pentagon liaison Phil Straub objected to a line in which a military character says, "People would kill themselves for the opportunities I have." The director John pushed back, and soon they were standing on the flight lines at Edwards Air Force Base with 200 crew watching. They eventually settled on they'd walk over hot coals, but even then that didn't make the final cut. But a much weirder example is Meet the Parents, when Ben Stiller's character walks into Robert De Niro's workplace. In the original script, he finds CIA torture manuals.
Yes, because CIA does do torture. And a lot of times the torture isn't to get information to help people or to save people. A lot of times the torture is to help suppress, like if you're in Nicaragua during Iran-Contra, you provide torture manuals. This is how you destroy a government. You torture people so they're afraid to work with the government. It's to cause fear. CIA tortures people to cause fear, to destroy governments, to destroy organizations, to make sure people don't try to rebel against the rule of our propped up rulers in the Saudi royal family. Anyone who wants to challenge the Saudi royal family, the CIA helps the Saudis torture them.
That was rewritten. Now he finds photos.
Bro, that is such a loser change.
De Niro meeting.
But you have to understand, I don't know if he understands this. This is change has been done hundreds of times. The amount of propaganda, how much of propaganda Hollywood movies are, is it insane. In every movie, you have something this level being done. No, you don't have a single movie where they find CIA torture manuals.
Bill Clinton.
Oh, that is such a loser change. What, are we supposed to make believe that the CIA doesn't torture people? Of course they do.
IMDb credits.
And you know what? It might even be justified sometimes. What happens in the
theoretically, maybe. But torture is not a reliable way to get information out of someone, because they will say any nonsense they can. And you torture someone, they will say something to make you stop. And that's something probably won't be the truth. Even if they know the truth, they will say something fake to get you to stop. You have no way of knowing whether it's fake or not. It's not a reliable way of interrogation.
CIA black site stays in the CIA black site. You know what I'm saying?
Chase Brandon as a technical advisor and Milt Bearden as consultant CIA on the film.
Weird.
On which you can see here.
That's weird.
These examples just cover what we know for certain from a leak of 60,000 pages of documents, which confirmed the CIA has been involved in more than 2,500 productions in total. The Pentagon runs something called the Entertainment Media Office, a formal liaison operation that works directly with Hollywood studios. They support studios financially, offer advice on sensitive topics.
And you wonder why it's like radical left shit that doesn't even make money. You know? Like, I've been saying this for a really long time.
Yeah, I was always sickened by the lack of meritocracy. That is why Russia and China are passing us. The lack of meritocracy in the United States and Europe. And that lack of meritocracy is because you need to enforce this ideology, the elite's ideology. And it's not it's who checks the right boxes, but a big part of that is who has the right ideology, who is compliant. And if you get a job because you check the right boxes, you're now dependent on that ideology. You know, you'll lose your job if you don't help spread that ideology. It's a corrosive system.
Every woke movie fails. Why do they do it? If the goal is to make money, and the woke...
I agree with Nux here. The putting woke stuff into movies is suicide for all these studios and games. All these games going out of business because they put woke stuff on it. And the argument being made, oh, it was done for the money. That's a lie. Because Bud Light, just look how it destroyed itself with sponsoring Dylan Mulvaney. This isn't for the money. This is, but it's what's being done is because you have BlackRock that's managing pensions funds for Americans and other money on a massive scale. It's then used that voting power to force companies to do policies that are suicidal. And so you just have one ideologue at BlackRock, and using your money, your retirement money, they force companies to make changes that basically fuck over the companies you're invested in, and make sure your pension fund, your retirement is going to be less. Isn't that a wonderful way the world works?
Jews that run Hollywood, they like money. I can promise you that. So if the goal is making money, then why are they making movies that they know will do worse because of wokeness and woke shit? Like, why engage? Right? Why
And that is type of thing that only happens because of the media. The reason that BlackRock is basically, it's like someone voting on your behalf. It's not supported by the people. He forces companies to follow policies that there's no democratic support for, like energy targets, like green policies that they don't have to follow by law, and will cost a lot of money, but he forces them to do it anyway to meet some ESG score. That is one super rich guy dictating how the world should work over the heads of Americans against the interest of the average American. Something the average American would never vote for. It's like, it told the average American, okay, you're going to get 5, 10, 15% less in retirement, but this company will now go green and do stuff that you don't care about that makes this rich guy happy. Do you think people would go along with that? No. So if you had a functioning media that explained why all these companies were going woke, it's because of BlackRock. It's because BlackRock is voting, using your retirement money and forcing companies to do stuff that'll make you lose money. If that was told to the American people, there would be a revolution. Like they'd go and have a riot at BlackRock. But we don't have a functioning media.
Engage with that discourse altogether, you know? Unless it's literally getting funded by the government. Literally getting funded by the government to psyop people into thinking that the faux reality that they're creating is actually real.
And again, the CIA stuff, yes, it's bad, but why is it happening? Why does CIA openly do this? You're going to see there's examples. They don't try to hide this, but it's because the media never reports on the amount of propaganda in movies. They never report on this subject. It's a taboo, blacklisted subject, CIA influence on movies. And that's why the CIA can get away with it. The media is complicit with every one of the wrongs in today's society. It is the root problem of everything.
And lend them specialist equipment and prime filming locations. In exchange for permissions, the CIA get to read and approve the script before a single frame is shot. They also have complete veto power, and directors are obliged to follow their word. One Pentagon minder said on record, "If they don't do what I say, I take my toys and go away." A declassified CIA
One thing, way that works, take my toys and go away. What that means is any movie that uses like jet fighters or U.S. military hardware of any type, that's what the military uses for leverage over those movies. It gives them a lot of leverage, like guns, tanks, all props. It's basically the military provides prop worth millions to a movie, and that gives them a huge amount of control over the script.
Document released in 2019 all but confirms that, logging dozens of...
And even if a film doesn't involve the use of tanks, if a studio doesn't do what the CIA wants in one movie, they won't get their tanks, don't be able to cheaply borrow tanks to film a different movie.
Meetings between the CIA's Office of Public Affairs and executives from NBC, Time Warner, Viacom, Fox, Paramount, and CIA.
Hey Wyatt, we're watching a movie on how the CIA has controls our Hollywood movies, and it's I think it's very interesting, at least.
Office of Public Affairs and executives from NBC, Time Warner, Viacom, Fox, Paramount, and CIA. The document covers just 2 years from 2014 to 2016. It includes lunches, development deals on campus filming approvals, and meetings to develop CIA-themed TV shows. The CIA has always claimed it merely answers requests on an as-needed basis.
Sure.
The document shows active outreach.
Sure.
The agency is going to the studios, not the other way around. But you have to stretch back much further to
Why would the CIA need to do that? Unless it's specifically trying to rape your mind.
find out when this all began. Because when
All cultures are equal, says some really clever woke
Yeah,
Jew.
Nux is watching this, thinking of it in terms of wokeness in media, and because he's become a conspiracy theorist on that topic, but he might stumble into the larger conspiracy that, yeah, your reality has been shaped by CIA for a lot longer than that.
In Hollywood. With CIA funding, all cultures are exactly the same. It's systemic racism. That's why Zimbabwe's a shithole.
one of George Orwell's most important works was adapted into a movie, the CIA had the final say over its closing moments. That film is Animal Farm.
No way. We have confirmation that the CIA affected the production of Animal Farm. So for those of you that are unaware, Animal Farm was basically a show about how communism is evil, and they changed it in the new Hollywood production to make it look like capitalism.
Yeah, he's thinking of it in terms of the current Animal Farm that's in theaters, but that Animal Farm, yes, it's propaganda too. But actually, this is about the old Animal Farms, which was also propaganda.
Is evil.
A classic anti-establishment story about rebelling against power. After Orwell died, the film's rights to Animal Farm were purchased by two men, and both were undercover CIA agents.
No
this was in
way.
The film's rights to Animal Farm were purchased by two men, and both were undercover CIA agents.
No
this was in
way.
1954,
No
the height of the
way.
Cold War and the Red
Oh
Scare,
my
when
God.
fear of communism was at its peak. The CIA funded the entire animation. They hired British animators, deliberately avoiding American studios to create distance, and because the agency distrusted Hollywood animators during the Red Scare, and they rewrote the ending. In Orwell's book, the animals look through the farmhouse window and can't tell the pigs from the humans. The line says, quote, "The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from pig to man, and from pig to man again, but already it was impossible to say which was which." This is the whole point. Revolution replaces one set of oppressors with another. Capitalism and communism are equally corrupt.
In other words, regime change in Iran would replace one regime with a U.S. puppet that would be just as bad.
The CIA couldn't have that message
L take, but anyway.
going out, so their
That's L-take because you've been propagandized. If you knew the results of every CIA coup, nearly every case the country is fucked over and is in worse afterwards.
equally corrupt. The CIA couldn't have that message
L take, but anyway.
going out, so their version ends with the animals triumphantly overthrowing the pigs in a second revolution. Communism bad, rebellion good, America wins by implication. See, watch how they storm the building.
This was at the time where you had the CIA was going around overthrowing communist countries around the world, like Nicaragua, or socialist countries around the world. And so, of course, they couldn't have an ending that revolution is bad. So they made revolution is good.
And how it doesn't imply the same message as the book at all. It's subtle, but the new version reinforces the division between good and bad. It creates a moral precedent that corrupt systems can be overthrown and replaced with something better, which is a really comforting thought, unless you realize it's exactly the story the CIA tells every time it topples a government. Orwell's ending says the opposite, that power corrupts
And that's happened a lot more than I think you know, Nuxtaku.
regardless of who holds it, and that revolution just replaces one set of oppressors with another. The director, Joy Batchelor, strongly opposed the change.
Possibly. It is the same voice. I'll check afterwards.
So, the CIA threatened to pull financing. The intelligence officer E. Howard Hunt, who later became involved in the Watergate scandal, said the film was, quote, carefully tweaked to heighten the anti-communist message. Although it was originally aimed at adults, Animal Farm found its primary audience in school over the
See, but that's what I mean. Good cause. Making fun of communists is awesome. I think only good communists is dead communists, you know, as they say. And I think we should be deporting communists en masse.
Yes, at least it had overall a good... most of the book was done right. Yes, they twisted the ending in a very important way, but overall, the message that communism sucks, at least that message was in the movie.
Yes, absolutely. Communists fucking suck. They're violent retards.
Whereas the new movie, it doesn't even have that message.
But you know, evil shit corrupting an actual work of art for that purpose.
US and Europe. By then, the state and media were already deeply intertwined. Governments had correctly identified that the media was the best way to access the minds of the
Well, the thing is, the big thing that I guess figured out, because you don't hear any other conspiracies theorists talk about, is the way inflation ended in the 1980s when the dollar inflation was spinning out of control, is the CIA started dollarizing the world. It started Iran-Contra. Cocaine to the United States, dollars go out. And Nicaragua ends up using a new currency. And part of that was overthrowing Nicaraguan government and making it collapse so that there wasn't a functioning currency, so dollars could come in and serve as now Nicaragua's currency. And they did that throughout Latin America and around the world, in Asia, overthrowing governments or destabilizing governments to dollarize them. And if you think of it in terms of that, having a propaganda movie telling you, like, yeah, destabilizing communist communist governments is good, it becomes a lot more sinister. I'm not going to go into whole detail of everything just again, just very quickly, this is where you can find it if you want, and it's
in the face of the this king.
It's in the next video. Don't want to waste too much time on this. It's in the last video.
More the treasury.
And the audio is terrible on these. I'm sorry about that if you do end up watching them. Yeah, this is where I talk about it.
Global intelligence operation.
It goes into everything that they did. It's a lot of evidence, documents. I know it's boring.
Public. Generations of children were shown a CIA-funded film with a CIA rewritten ending.
That's why those videos I just showed you, I need to have them redone in this type of easy-to-consume format.
As if this was a faithful adaptation of Orwell. So you may not be surprised to learn that Disney was the testing ground for how effective propaganda could be. While it might be hard to believe today, Disney was actually going broke, and the government offered it a deal. They accepted, and within 2 years, over 90% of Disney's output, mostly propaganda, was government content. Disney characters found their way into all sorts of government materials, including 1,200 military insignia. Walt Disney even personally designed this terrifying Mickey Mouse
This is a gas mask, Mickey Mouse gas mask.
All to make children less afraid during air raids.
Oh my god, that is crazy!
That is terrifying. I think a regular gas mask would be less scary than this.
I've never seen that.
Look at Disney films through the ages, like Snow White, The Incredibles, and Frozen. They're often said to carry some level of deliberate messaging.
Yeah, The Incredibles is the #1 conservative movie probably ever made in the history of all time. It's about a man who is actually better and superior, and he's fucking awesome at what he does. And he really is. He's actually incredible, I would even go as far as to say. Eventually, for some reason, society, because of libtardism, decides to stifle down and squash every single person in society, make everyone the same. You're not allowed to stand out. You're not allowed to be different. You're not allowed to be special. You're not allowed to be better. Everyone has to be fucking cubicle people.
It was a great movie.
All right, so bro goes to get an office job. His life becomes shit. His wife stops about himself. I have to do...
To describe this phenomenon, they offer a singular worldview that runs through most Western mainstream media. While modern society came to describe this phenomena as woke, the more important aspect is the consent it manufactures.
Oh yeah.
What angered me about Hollywood, people pretending to be these liberal, wonderful people in favor of all the best causes out there to create art.
When the chips fall onto the table, these civilized people,
they would drop the woke stuff tomorrow if they could make more money doing something else. It's just about what's going to bring the buck.
Oh, where's the money? See, I heard...
That was probably as close to a normal gas mask as you could get at the time. Design improvements weren't as easy to make back then. Yeah, but it's still ugly and disturbing as fuck.
That argument so many times, and I think it's part of the lie. I hate this argument, actually, because everything woke fails. All right, if you look at shit and unite them fake super doing it for
I want to skip to the more interesting part of the video that's going to completely blow Nux's mind.
And therefore they're going to do
value. One upstream decides what the acceptable worldview is, and the media is passed accordingly. The Pentagon did it with military values. The CIA did it with anti-communism. Hollywood does it now with whatever sells. The product always looks like entertainment and not ideology. These are films watched by billions, not just in the West, but worldwide. So this is also a matter of the
the rest of the world has been propagandized by our movies and are rewriting history for a long time.
image the world superpowers want to project. Soft power has always mattered enormously to the West. Huge military, invincible superheroes, perfect moral values, intelligence agencies that can do anything they please and always win. Now, you might be wondering what happens if someone breaks ranks and goes against the grain. Whether it's possible to subvert
This is part I want to see Nux's reaction on.
the CIA and inform the public of the truth. Well, there has been at least one occasion when someone tried to do exactly that. He was Gary DeVore, a Hollywood screenwriter with major credits on Schwarzenegger's Raw Deal, Christopher Walken's The Dog of War, and Backroads with Tommy Lee Jones and Sally Field. He was deep into a script idea that even his own wife didn't fully understand until after he was gone.
When I first moved in with Gary, he said to me, "Don't be alarmed if you get a call from a person from a government agency. Just take their name down and number and don't be worried about it." In the first 4 years, there were 2 calls. And then, not too long before he actually disappeared, there were several from the CIA at Langley.
It was called The Big Steal, set during the US invasion of Panama. A friend of his, Hollywood director John Irvin, had lunch with Gary a few weeks before he disappeared. He could tell that something was off.
He was troubled. Something was bothering him. He wasn't really in the conversation. He was having trouble with the script he was writing, which he talked about more about not the script, but about a government very, very sensitive, inconvenient truth. He was speaking more as a journalist.
An inconvenient truth.
Than he was as a screenwriter. He was talking as an investigator.
A researcher who later investigated the case, called Dr. Matthew Alford, eventually...
By the way, this is why I stopped blogging and creating videos back in 2011. This guy is just one example. Gary Webb's another. There's so many people that were investigating sensitive stuff, blogging about it, and then they die. It's very common. And I thought I was close to truth in what I came up with in those videos, and I think it would have been dangerous to continue.
She uncovered what Gary had found, and it's really dark.
The dictator of Panama, Manuel Noriega, made secret recordings in wired rooms of senior US officials having sex with underage prostitutes, male.
No, Shoddy uncovered an Epstein situation.
He did.
The British newspaper commented on this, and the story was then buried.
This happens again and again in the media. One good story, because they don't control every reporter. What they did, so there'll be a reporter that covers, like, Pizzagate. There was one reporter that did a story on that. One reporter did a story on this. And then the guy who covered Pizzagate that was fired, he got off lucky compared to the guy who did this story.
And the guy who wrote it got shot by an anonymous sniper.
Gary planned.
Yeah, it used to be that you talked about a topic you shouldn't, like Pizzagate, you got a bullet in the head. The guy who covered Pizzagate that got fired from everything, we watched that Asmongold video a while back, he, at least now, he survived. He wasn't killed. And he's gone on to be vindicated. The guy who broke that story tried to do the right thing and he got a bullet in the head.
And to put that...
That's the changing, their ability to suppress information, the conspiracy, the media, in their ability to just kill everyone who tries to bring the truth up. They've practically lost it now.
In a Hollywood film, he was driving home through the desert, and then that was the last anyone heard from him.
Oh my
God. I'll see you later. I never heard from him again.
It's like Gary DeVore simply vanished into thin air.
There was a massive search, foot patrols, helicopters, $100,000 reward, but 0 leads and no witnesses.
Yeah, data centers are their Hail Mary pass away at population control now that their narrative, their ability to just kill people that break stories they don't like is gone. Problem with that is they want to flood, Twitch chat with fake AI people to manipulate streamers, for example, is one example of how AI could be used to fuck over what people know.
He was missing for 374 days, but then his Ford Explorer was found beneath 15 feet of muddy water at the bottom of the California aqueduct. Despite the aqueduct having been searched extensively, his laptop containing the script was missing, his gun was missing, and his hands were missing.
Yeah, that last one, I don't think he drove himself into that aqueduct without hands.
Why were his hands cut off?
Listen, the man...
And that's another example. That's clearly murder. And they could get away with it back then. The control of the media was a lot more total. They could just kill people who tried to bring Epstein stuff to light. And openly. Like, that other reporter was shot by a sniper. It's obviously murder. This guy, no fingers. Obviously murder. Nowadays, it's more like suicides. Everyone gets suicided nowadays when it happens. But it happens a lot more rarely.
And had his fingers removed. Why? Why?
in my own mind, feel that there is a crime here. I do not feel that my husband...
He tried to type out a script with things they didn't want in it. That's why his fingers got removed before they killed him.
...and drove off of this bridge.
Within a week...
What? He drove off the bridge and his hands fell off? Hello?
And by the way, Nuxtaku, this right here is the type of torture the CIA does. It tortures people to send a warning and to make people afraid to come forward and say the truth. That's why they weren't trying to get any information from this guy. They just cut off his fingers while he was alive to torture him and send a message to the rest of Hollywood. Don't go against the CIA.
Hello? No one's buying this.
This disappearance, agents from the FBI, CIA, NSA, and DoD arrived at the family home. After an official went into his office, his computer was wiped. And here's an unlikely connection to meet the parents in other films years later. It was Chase Brandon, the CIA's entertainment industry liaison officer, who was among those at the scene. When Alfred started digging into the case years later, he received a warning to
It's just legal murder, yes.
Stop what he was doing and leave while alone.
You know, of course, you've received an informal or semi-formal warning from a CIA and DoD contractor.
Yep.
Who said to you, back off the CIA, you're going too far with this now. These people can and will ruin your life and come knocking on mine and your doors.
A former White House official from the Reagan and George Bush administrations confirmed that DeVore harbored a deep-rooted relationship with the agency and considered the case as the hallmarks of a cover-up. The CIA declined to comment on the entire situation, and the case officially remains open. So,
and there's just nothing you can do about this, and they're just so corrupt. You can't even like. There's just nothing you can even do about this. Like, what are you gonna do? Complain?
The covering up basically the raping of underage girls and boys. It does and murder. It's crazy.
You're gonna complain to? You're gonna complain to the people that did this? Oh my god, dude, it's just fucking demoralizing. We're up against like a real monster, and the only way to win, in my opinion, is to completely and utterly, radically change the ideologies of the people, and that is the current war that's being held.
The media that doesn't cover this. That's the enemy.
No, heartbreaking as it is, all right, you have to tell people that the fake reality that they're showing you on these feel-good TV shows and movies is not an actual real reality. It's actually a giant psyop to rape your minds, right, and to convince you that infinite debauchery is actually a good thing. And
but I think what's great about this documentary is Nux thought that today there's propaganda. He thinks because of wokeness. He obviously thinks there's a conspiracy for that. What he didn't realize is there's been a conspiracy to control Hollywood going back a long time, and to hide the Epstein stuff. That the effort to do that goes back decades.
It's really not. Every Hollywood movie shitting on, you know, religion or religious values and stuff like that.
Yes, that's bad too, but covering up Epstein stuff is still the worst.
The religious guy is always the nutcase. The religious guy is always the one that ends up in some sort of adulterous relationship. You have to snap people out of this.
It's to send a message. That's the number one reason why CIA does torture, is to send a message to stop people from speaking out. That's usually one, and also in places where the CIA is destabilized, like in Iraq, the WikiLeaks, the people we were working with. The U.S. government, and a lot of them were trained by CIA, would torture people routinely in Iraq. That was an effort to to suppress the population, just like any bad dictator tortures people to have people not rebel. It's the same reason that the CIA does it. Same reason we help the Saudis do torture and the Qataris do torture, and all the other undemocratic regimes.
Fugue state that I think so many people are in just because they walk around and absorb whatever slop gets shoveled down their throats. Demoralizing and horrifying, but we have to notice, we have to spread the word, and we have to win. We're finally fighting back.
The other side of the coin. What potentially happens when the CIA's veto isn't obeyed? We don't really know the truth of what happened, but it does show you that you shouldn't mess around with.
It's pretty obvious in this case. I mean, missing fingers, hands,
sanctioned by the agency. As for the impacts, this all has.
That's right. Just say the line. Just say the line they told you to say, and they will leave you alone. Just toe the line infinitely until everyone is hyper vaccinated with every possible fucking shit that they can inject into their body, wearing masks, not having families, women aborting their babies.
Yeah, Tim Pool recently broke that, yes, the vaccine does cause, heart attacks. That's now officially proven.
Just say the line. Just say the line, they said. Well, unfortunately, You got to fight back
I
sometimes.
think it's Sans from Undertale, Nuxtaku's model.
It's two.
On society.
And the mask is Red X from Teen Titans. He was a big fan of Red X.
And Joe Rogan were very perceptive about how it can change public perception.
So in World War I, one of the problems that they had was people didn't want to be over there killing people.
Yeah.
And so people were shooting, but they weren't shooting at the actual enemy. And so then they realized, well, we've got to do something about that. And so after that, they started creating all these really patriotic war movies where the guys are heroes, they go over and they shoot all the bad guys, and then they're awesome. So then the next group of people that go to war are all going to be indoctrinated with these films.
John Kiriakou thinks that nowhere has that.
That is probably one of the few examples of good propaganda in that if you go to war and you don't shoot people, you'll probably get shot yourself. So it's necessary.
Indoctrination be more effective
That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just objective history.
or more dangerous than in warming the population up to the idea.
And also
A knight, yeah, a Nidus model, that'd be interesting. Thing is, you need fit, like the mouth is one of the most important things for showing expressions. Eyes alone, it would be more difficult, but it could still work. It might be some ways to make it work. I can see, like a Transformers type aesthetic, where the grill plate also moves.
Also, incredibly hot take. It was very good, actually. Because, like, there are many things that indoctrinate you. You know, on the one hand, you get indoctrinated by...
Yep, I do.
By violent video games to shoot people, to kill when you're at war. And on the other hand, you get indoctrinated by a society that's telling you, actually, under no circumstances should there ever be killing ever. You know, so ultimately, when push comes...
Never be any killing ever. I can see that that doesn't go well with the way Israel conducts its business. So, but and I do agree there are times where you have to kill. But in general, being very hesitant to kill, having a society where people are hesitant to kill, I think in general is a good thing.
To shove, you do need to kill your enemy in war. I know that sounds brutal, but like you look at the Bible and thou shalt not murder is one of the 10 commandments. But at the same time, when the Israelites went to war, God told them to obliterate their enemy. You know, like both of these things can be true.
Fear of torture.
One thing that bothers me the most is when Hollywood perpetuates the myth that torture prevented acts of terrorism or disrupted acts of terrorism. And
the big issue is
Yes, because torture, primary use of it in CIA is like 99% of tortures. It's about sending a message rather than getting information.
This is scientific fact that people will lie.
The mafia does it too. You know, they kill people in horrible ways. Why? To send a message. That's the way torture is used the most in human history, period. It's the way it works. Torture to get information just isn't that reliable. It's better, and you might kill the person trying to get information from.
To get out of being tortured. So torture doesn't actually help for the most part?
me, that myth is dangerous in that it affects public opinion. You can put whatever euphemism you want on it. You can call it enhanced interrogation techniques. I don't care what you call it. What we did to some of those people was just illegal.
Kiriakou would know. He's the only CIA officer who ever went to prison over the torture program.
I objected to the CIA.
Yeah, now he's getting paid by Russian state media.
Use of so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, which I believe to be torture. And
I haven't looked into it, but so what if he's telling the truth?
Public with that information in December of 2007. All this time, by the way, I'm waiting for somebody to come out.
And he wasn't getting paid by Russian state media at the time that before he went to jail. That's something that happened afterwards.
And say something. And nobody said anything. As a result, I was prosecuted and served 30 months in prison. But I'm glad I did. Somebody had to do it.
This is especially true in the film Zero Dark 30, which is about capturing Osama bin Laden. John Kiriakou thinks it's the strongest example of making the CIA look clean from every angle.
Zero Dark 30. So Zero Dark 30, I think, is the most egregious
Haven't seen that one.
of CIA interference in Hollywood.
The CIA gave the filmmakers classified briefings over a classified mock-up of the bin Laden compound. The film essentially pushed out the torture program as what led them to bin Laden. Kiriakou says that's a complete lie.
This was a film that the CIA made a policy decision on that it was going to cooperate fully, to the point where senior CIA officers gave them inappropriately classified briefings over a classified mock-up of the bin Laden compound. Okay, that's chargeable under the Espionage Act. The CIA just turned it over. Why? Because it made the CIA look good.
In real life, intelligence work is edgy, gruesome, and morally ambiguous. Mainstream TV and cinema don't need to be accurate. They just need to feel right and not leave the audience with too many lingering questions or ambiguity. They pick up on this exact point in the podcast.
Even though they are torturing people. Now,
entire population is so kind of almost like brainwashed into, but they are good guys, so torture is okay as long as good guys are doing it.
Just the narrative.
And they've got
IDF tortures people. It's okay.
so desensitized towards doing bad shit. And if it's the CIA or if it's Tom Cruise or if it's like Mission Impossible and they're doing bad shit and they're torturing people, that's okay. Like now the message is that's okay. You don't worry about it.
No, sometimes maybe. Hey, maybe. Look, I'm not going to sit here and make believe that I'm happy that intelligence agencies might have done some morally dubious things for the sake of our nation. But overall, I don't trust them and I don't like them. These two things are not inconsistent.
So desensitization and controlling the narrative are central to this whole strategy, but there are deeper layers than promoting and suppressing films. The CIA's venture capital arm In-Q-Tel, literally named after Q from James Bond, has been funding tech companies since 1999. Google bought an In-Q-Tel funded mapping startup called Keyhole that became Google Earth. In-Q-Tel and Google then jointly invested in a company that builds predictive analytics by mining web data. Palantir was one of their earliest investments. The CIA
Coming up. I was waiting for this.
They had established an entire directorate of digital innovation specifically to engage Silicon Valley. So it's all linked together and practically operates in plain sight. Theo Von told Green a story about bumping into a construction worker at Century City Mall in LA.
Yo, what's up? So I start talking to him. And he's like, dude, guess what we're building? I'm like, I don't know. I thought maybe it could have been like a Hardee's or something. He's like, we're building like a 20-story building, and 10 floors of it are the CIA, and the other 10 floors are a management company, Hollywood Management.
Theo was mixed.
Hollywood Management, 10 floors CIA. That's Hollywood for you, baby.
No! That's a funny coincidence, right?
Up the CIA and CAA,
coincidence.
Creative Artists Agency, Hollywood's most powerful talent firm. But Green made it sound like the real thing was even worse.
Oh, so he was just wrong, bro. Theo Von is like the kind of guy that's like, he's funny, and if you turn your brain off, you can watch him, but bro's dumb as rocks. It's miserable. I'm just like, I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, but he has morals. He quit CIA over torture. That was before he received any Russian money.
Oh, his best friend is Candace Owens,
And you go to that building, and they call it like the Death Star. There are like, politicians who are being represented by CAA, athletes, tech bros, influencers. It's pretty frightening though when you go inside. It's almost like Scientology, Hollywood's version of Scientology.
He's describing high-level ongoing talks at the intersection of the media, government, and big tech, all in a building lovingly called the Death Star. So you can now see how this whole influence campaign is.
Don't you love the Death Star? I actually like the Death Star in Star Wars, but I don't like this Death Star.
I love how every single one of these like big government like intelligence agencies are named after the villains in media. Like you have to be like Palantir is named after the Palantir orbs.
They know they're evil.
Are bigger than cutting lines in Marvel movies. It relies on cross-collaboration between multiple arms of state and private power, and the product hasn't stopped at the cinema. It's been actively following the audience, which means you, wherever you go, including online.
Do you think the CIA have a strategy for podcasters and for podcasting?
I think yes, now they do.
Yes.
It took them a little while to
absolutely do
to get current, but just like
I know that because I criticize England, okay? All right, a lot. The British government.
There is a limit to what they can do on podcasters, though. Besides deplatforming them like they do with Nick Fuentes or Alex Jones, you can try to control people around them, influence podcasters that way, or you can have fake people in the chat. I don't know if that's happening with Asmongold. I think it will happen eventually if it hasn't already, having AI in the chats to manipulate big streamers.
Government with their migration policies, and I, in my real life, am scared to actually go to England because they might connect funny, wacky, blue anime character on the internet to the real me. And I say,
it's funny that Hassan is banned from England, and Nuxtaku is afraid to go there too. That's crazy. Both are non-UK streamers.
Yeah, because I've gotten like emails of people actually, from places actually looking into me. And that's scary as fuck. I don't want to go to England and get arrested because Nuxanor online is talking about how Keir Starmer should not be importing infinite rapists into the country. I don't like that idea at all.
They, over time, developed a strategy with Hollywood. Sure, they're developing a strategy with podcasters.
This strategy is consolidating as we speak, which will only make it easier.
I mean, to be fair, I'm probably going to do a separate video on the podcast.
If Asmongold was part of the strategy, he would not be covering the stuff he is. He would not have done that stream on Pizzagate and all the Epstein files and stuff. So, I mean, and what can they do against Asmongold? A guy who just streams from his house and has very little contact with other people. There's very few vectors to manipulate him.
podcasters that are compromised by the CIA, but like they're the guests. If I have a podcast and I'm just dude bro 69 420.
Someone like Ludwig, for example, that has a lot more connections with the different content creators, has his own org or something. They can get to him a lot easier, and surprisingly, he stopped doing his drama videos, as an example.
On the internet making dude bro content that wants to interview interesting dude bros. All right, and then some fucker at the CIA is like, hello, I would love to come on your podcast. I jump at the opportunity, right? I'd love to interview some CIA guy to tell me that everything's okay and Epstein was just totally just some random guy that was just kind of perverted. You know?
Agencies like the CIA to wield greater control over the narratives. Larry Ellison, whose company Oracle now hosts TikTok US algorithm and controls its content moderation, just bought Paramount through his son David. And if their bid for Warner Bros. And Discovery goes through, you can add CNN, HBO, Warner Bros., Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, MTV, Comedy Central, Discovery, TLC, TBS, and TNT to that list. An internal memo obtained by NPR confirmed
the consolidation of all these mainstream media outlets under one corporate entity or a few corporate entities. It makes it easier to control their editorial decisions.
The Ellison-led entity will control what's
guys, it's just business. It's totally not to psyop you.
allowed and what's not on the platform. Bernie Sanders called it oligarchy. And Oracle, which sits
But Bernie Sanders is retarded.
underneath all of this, has held government contracts
He used to be less retarded than he currently is.
with the CIA and the Department of Defense for decades. Whatever you call it, the media pipeline is now shorter than it's ever been, and in fewer hands. There's a through line from Donald Duck selling war bonds to Captain Marvel. Selling Air Force recruitment to Google Earth, tracking your location has never been broken. The methods have evolved: direct propaganda, covert funding, script consultations, structural incentives, venture capital, and digital surveillance. The principle itself hasn't changed. Get the message right, make sure it's repeated enough, and eventually nobody questions this anymore.
Repetition is truth.
And if you've seen...
And now women are deciding, hey, why should I get married when instead I could follow my dreams and abort my babies and be miserable forever?
What happens when someone steps outside that system? A screenwriter at the bottom of a canal with no hands? A researcher warned to back off before they ruin his life? Maybe that
YouTuber banned from every platform, you know, like it's everywhere. It happens to everybody. Right, just say the line.
And you understand why so few people ever try.
Yep.
It's not a theory about...
And that's why if you're your average influencer that plays video games for a living, let's say, if you ever want to get political, if they ever get political, it's always to libtard
Not always. Example A is me.
Politics. They're always going to celebrate Pride Month and use the right pronouns and shit like that. Because...
But then again, I was on this side before I started streaming. And I don't know. My purpose was... to bring stuff to light.
Why should a guy who makes a living playing video games online risk it? Risk their entire career because, hey, they said something that the corporate overlords don't like, you know?
About Hollywood, but a description
thanks,
of what
Wyatt.
60,000 pages of declassified documents confirm has already happened, and is still happening, to the stories you grew up on. The truth is, we simply don't know how deep this rabbit hole really goes.
Not yet, but we will one day.
Much of the information-rich world around us is real, and how much is fake or manipulated just enough to maintain a thin veneer of authenticity. Like we saw in this recent video we did on the CIA compromising podcasts, the rabbit hole truly goes deep. In any case, the strategies employed by the CIA and the government to influence the media are not theoretical, and they don't spend millions on them for no reason. So ask yourself, when you're next watching your favorite films and TV shows, can you really take them at value? If you think you can, ask yourself for how much longer do you think this will be the case?
Yeah. No, that was a really good video.
That's why fantasy films like Lord of the Rings are a good escape from all this, because the interference there, if it's something on a different world fantasy, is mostly non-existent, at least before the woke era.
All in all, I don't know, a couple of pointers that I disagree with as we go, but in all, I do agree absolutely that there is a very nefarious plot by the tech overlords and the
I think it might have been a shock for him that losing the hand thing from so long ago. It made clear that this is more than just a woke era problem. It predates that.
Government retards and the intelligence bitches to psyop you into believing in their false reality. I do believe very, very much that that is something that they have actively been trying to do for a very long time, to normalize the abnormal, to basically make what should be considered taboo.
Okay, I'm going to skip the Nux wrap up because I don't think I'll agree with everything anyway. But the point is, yeah, there's deep links between the CIA and Hollywood. On another topic, the other place is a deep link with CIA is colleges. very deep. There could be a video like this on the CIA involvement in campus colleges too. They recruit from campus colleges. They spread the ideologies they want in campus colleges. Campus colleges shape the minds of the youth, and not only the youth, the most important youth, the youth that are going to go up and be leaders in industry and corporate finance. So it's extremely important for them, especially like Ivy League schools. Massive CIA presence there. Anyway, like and subscribe, come watch on Kick or Twitch, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.